That's what they say, Lindsay.
Ooh.
That is
Hey,
what
Lindsay,
they say.
it's Tuesday. I feel like we've been on 6 or 7 of these video calls today.
Hmm.
Oh,
Absolutely.
we're live and my dogs are barking. I think we're
It's
live.
prime time.
It
Yeah,
is
it's prime
time.
time.
All right, it's prime time. Here we go. We did it. A useless
did it.
clip. Bob, welcome to the show. We have a new platform and we have these things we call useless clips. I'm sure you've seen them.
I love them.
Yeah, right? They're pretty great. I mean, I like them. Lindsay, do you like them?
I love him. That first song gets me so happy.
It makes me so happy. But you know what makes
Yeah.
me happier? Andy, take it away.
Yes.
What time is it? What time is it? It's prime time. It's prime time. What time is it? What time is it? Prime time. It's prime time. Oh yeah. It's another Tuesday night. Time to get nerdy and talk about guitars. That's what we do on Tuesdays. And tonight, this very Tuesday, we're very happy to have back president and co-founder of Taylor Guitars, Mr. Bob Taylor. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Andy.
Welcome to
Hi, Bob.
And as always, Miss Lindsay Love. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey.
What's up with your light bulb back there? It's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
Also, say hello to Jay Parkin. Hey, Jay.
Well, what's up with your light bulb back there? It's pretty cool.
I didn't see it before. Did it just appear like in the countdown? Is that part of this
No.
useless clip? No.
No,
It's
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 been,
well to notice it.
That's cool.
it's been there.
It's a great
I totally didn't
Yeah,
notice
well-
it until you mentioned it, Andy.
No.
See?
Now it's
Well,
all I
Bob-
can see.
Well, now that let's see, here we go. Now that we're talking about my background, Bob, the viewers have you to thank for this. You totally, last time you were on, no, not last time you were on, probably 2 times, you were like, Lindsay, upgrade this thing. And I said, fine. So I kicked
I
my
totally
daughter out of
threw
her
you
room.
under the bus.
Called you
You know
out.
what? It's all good. I threw my daughter out of her room, and so she really likes you. I said, Bob said you got to go on Tuesdays, so go.
I think it's great.
You know, it's tough love, Lindsay. I'll tell you, I went camping with a bunch of guys from PR2, cut our spruce, and there was a guy there named Paul Brown, and he was a good friend. And we were camping, everything was great. And he came up to me and he's like, Bob Taylor, you're a great guy. You make good guitars. I really love you. You're a leader of men. But you know what? Your tent is a piece of crap.
Oh.
And I just had to admit it. And I've never had a piece of crap tent ever since that day. Sometimes
You
it
know
just
what?
takes someone to just come right out and say it.
This Zoom life, you're just trying to find the right spot to do these videos, right? Like you're like in your room, you don't
It's
want to show your
hard.
bed, you don't want to do all this. So you're like, where's the most appropriate spot to do video chat? So
It's
My daughter-
hard.
Sometimes it's your kid's room. I mean, I did the same thing. I gave my daughter the boot, and I was like, I'm at least going to take some of this room. It's kind of cool-ish.
Yeah.
There's a spot where
No.
I can hang a light.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it looks better than others, but whatever. Anyway, welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thank
We're
you, Jay.
live on Taylor Primetime, the Guitar Nerd Talk Show, where obviously we talk way too much. We've been told that before.
Mhm.
Tonight's episode is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about robots, and then we're going to do a little rapid fire Q&A with Bob Taylor. So you better get your questions ready in the feed. My dogs wanted to join the show tonight. So if you hear them hanging out and barking a lot, it's just because they enjoy you, Bob. All right. So we Of course, you guys know how the show goes. If you're new to the show, welcome. We appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is your opportunity to ask Bob Taylor those questions you've always wanted to ask him. But the way the show goes is we have some segments. Sometimes we get some hate, and we call this part of the show "Hug Your Haters." But we didn't get any hate this week. None. We get a little depressed when we don't get any hate, but Andy,
You'll probably get some next week with me being on the show.
absolutely, absolutely, you can count on it. Or my dog's barking. Andy,
Yes.
do you have a song for us right now?
Yeah, we have a show the love song instead of a hug the hater song.
All right, why don't you take it away?
Everybody needs a hug these days. Today and forever. It's been so long, maybe you forgot what a hug was like. It's probably safe to hug sanitized robots. So show the love in whatever you do. Show some love. Be honest, be true. Show some love to someone who might be down. Good karma always comes back around.
Wow, Andy,
Wow.
that might have been your best show the love.
Wow.
Thanks, Jay.
I was like straight up John Lennon right there.
That was
Yes. Yes.
Lund Lennon. John Lund. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for that. But
Yes.
the next segment we have another one right out of the gate. And It's so great. This is one of my new favorites. And we might have a useless clip for producer Gabriel to run real quick. But what are you listening to? Gabe, you got to go.
So smooth.
So
Did you rock and headbang? Turn it down when cops came? Was it all about drums or when somebody sang? What's new? What is new? And what are you listening to? What are you listening to?
Nice.
What are you listening to?
Theme song machine.
Oh,
Wow.
he is a machine. He's like a songwriting robot. It's amazing.
That's the theme tonight is robots.
That is. We're gonna figure out where Bob got this fascination with robots, because apparently no one works in the factory and it's just robots. But we'll get there. Bob, what have you been listening to lately?
There's a YouTuber I like. His name's Carson McKee, and he was singing a song that I really dug. The lyrics were crazy, and it was called Old Friends. He covers songs. And so I'm like looking into that, and I discover this indie band called Pine Grove.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm 66. I don't listen to indie bands called Pine Grove, but I've been listening to them all week long. And that particular song, when I find a song, I'll listen to it 100 times. I mean, I just will. I'll just play a song over and over and over. So I've been listening to Pine Grove sing Old Friends, and I almost know the lyrics to it now. The lyrics are kind of hard. And anyways, I love that. And so I've been going more down what Pine Grove does and listening to a bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm enjoying it.
We lost Andy.
I don't know what
See,
happened.
Andy.
These video chats all day.
That's what happens when you live in the North Woods. Oh, he's coming back in a new place. Talk about whack-a-mole.
He wanted to switch places.
StreamYard actually copped to that. They said, this might be our problem. Click here to see if it works. So.
Oh, that's so good.
Hey, so has anyone here listened to Pine Grove before?
Yes.
I'm not.
I get you. And I understand why you would fall into that Pine Grove hole.
Yeah, it's really
Pine Grove hole.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, that's what I was listening to.
I'm gonna listen to them.
Lindsay, what are you listening to?
Yeah, I'm still digesting John Batista's album, We Are.
Yeah.
So it's one that I've listened to like probably, I don't know, 5 times through now, but it's so good. So good.
Yeah. I would agree. Andy, what are you listening to?
Well, Jay, I know you're not a jazz fan, but I've been listening to some Mike Stern lately.
I love Mike Stern.
You should check him out, Jay, because you would probably dig him. He's more on the rock side of things. Super cool guy and an amazing story. Like there's a real crazy, amazing story behind this guy. It's okay. We'll give you a jazz pass for today. Also, Robert Plant, Band of Joy, old record. And sometimes I just got to get my muse on, man. And this is a bootleg record I got in Japan that's live at the Yokohama Arena in Japan. It's got 4 CDs in it. So sometimes I just need the epicness of Muse.
Speaking of bootlegs, should we have Ed Robertson from the Bare Naked Ladies on this show?
That would be awesome.
He's so great. And that's how
they
started their career in the United States, was this random, influx of bootleg CDs. And they got here and they just blew up from it when they came here. Anyway, he's got a great story. Maybe that's a good one. We should add him to the artist list.
He's a really interesting guy.
Yeah, he is.
Super nice guy.
He's so great.
On the show,
Wonderful. Anyway, I've been listening to Lindsay knows. I'm stuck on Judith Hill's newest record. It's like I can't get it out of my head. Every single song on Judith Hill's new record is great. It's just phenomenal. I can't. Anyway, we got a comment on last week's show. This isn't hate. I just find it's fascinating. But someone said, you listen to Iron Maiden, but not the Doors. Yes. I listen to Iron Maiden every day, at least once. So there's that. But a Manchester orchestra, a band that plays Taylor's, Andy Hall, they're an incredible songwriters. They're releasing their newest records coming out pretty soon. So they have 2 singles out. One is called Bedhead, and I can't get it out of my mind. They did a really cool acoustic rendition that hopefully we'll be able to share with you guys soon on an 816, on a Builder's Edition 816. They play this song with a piano, and I've been able to share it with the group here. I believe everybody here has seen it. I think you've seen it, Andy. If not, I'll send it to you. I can't share it yet.
Jay, I've listened to that one 100 times too.
It's
so good.
It's so good. They're so talented. But to hear that instrument in a Builder's Edition 816 with a sound port cutaway, we all thought it was weird, but Andy had a goal behind that instrument. And when you pair that with a piano, it all makes sense. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then the last thing I've been listening to is I Know What Love Is. And here's why I'm going to plug this song right now. This week, we surpassed 1 million streams.
Yeah.
Yay.
We are not a record label. We are a guitar manufacturer. So that's a proud moment for us. We are raising revenue. If you haven't listened to I Know What Love Is, please go do it. All you have to do is listen to the song on your favorite platform, wherever you listen to music, or go to YouTube and watch the video. You can go to iknowwhatloveis.com and you can continue, because we're helping artists who struggled during COVID. So this is a big moment, but we're well north of 1 million now, and it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jay, Gabe. Wow.
We love it. Bob.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who this is president and co-founder Bob Taylor. His name may or may not be behind me and on the headstock, or in his little name badge on the screen there. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Taylor. Bob, welcome back to the show. He froze.
Hey,
Did you freeze?
No, he's
He did
unfrozen.
freeze.
He's on.
Now he's unfrozen.
I saw you guys all go down, but we came back. I don't know who's freezing, but I'm here.
We saw you freeze, so it's cool. It's added value to the show. I like it. Bob, welcome back to the show. My first question for you before we get into what we're here for, and that is asking Bob questions and talking a little bit about robots. Bob, this is our first chance to be on the air with you to talk about transitioning ownership to the employees. You and Kurt and Andy and everybody decided that it was time to transition ownership to us. And first of all, thank you. We were all very shocked and very surprised, but it is the most Bob thing that could ever happen. Will you speak on that a little bit?
Well, you know, Kurt and I aren't getting any younger. There's going to come a time in our career when we have to transition the company to some kind of new ownership. And neither one of us are taking a path of, you know, having family inherit it. And so we have a couple options. One would be to sell the company. And for years we thought, oh man, that's just unfathomable for us to think about that. And so 7 years ago, we started looking into this idea of employee-owned companies. They're called ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Program. And we worked on that quite a while. We had a lot of metrics we wanted to meet for the company to get there, but we thought, like, who better in all of the world to carry on the work of Taylor Guitars into the future as new owners? There's nobody better than our employees, the people that help us get here, the people that work day and night, like you three, go home, do this show.
I need to write some freeze music. I think that's obvious.
I think you do.
Have a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
Freeze music.
Freeze music.
There you go.
I think I'm freezing. I got a little sign that says, this may happen if you have unstable internet.
That's what I got
There
too.
you go. But yeah.
Well,
So anyways, to bring the company into 100% employee ownership really secures the future for Taylor Guitars. It's a wonderful thing to do. For me, it's a huge relief knowing the future of the company is in good hands. And for the employees, I think it's a relief knowing that the future of the company is in good hands, right? It's win-win.
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to speak for my two partners in crime, if you will, here, but I could say, wow, and thank you. And this is really great to have you. And look, we get to come, you get to join us on Primetime and hang out with us willingly. We don't ever have to pull teeth here. It's very, hey, Bob, you want to be on Primetime? Absolutely. So
We don't have to pull the, hey, we're owners, Bob. You got to do what we say. Car.
I know, man.
Hey, can I ask a tough question? I think is a tough question of Bob.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think that you guys have always done really well is you just decided to do something because you thought it was the thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not always the thing that would possibly pay off immediately, but you know, I've heard you say before, we're going to be glad we did this in 10 years. I've heard you say that many times. So what advice can you give all of us now that we have more decision makers involved? How do we handle that? How do we as a group understand how to just do something and make a decision like you guys have done in the past?
Yeah, that is a tough question, because you have to start thinking like an owner, and the owner. Um, I was talking to some people in our where in the department where we make decisions to buy tools, and we were talking about a new tool, and I said, the way it sort of worked for a long time is you got Bob, can we get this? And I go, yeah, we can get that, and they're like, okay, right. But now I'm going to ask you if we can get this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think maybe one of the most spoken words in daily workaday life around the world might be, well, what would be good for me is if we, whatever. What would be good for me is, and then you name something that would make your job easier. And so I've been telling people that that mental picture of the company, really has to expand for everybody. So when I say, yeah, let's go ahead and go down, like I'm a red light and a green light for a lot of things, and when I green red light for this to come back on. Here I am. I'm not trying to think of what's best for a group or department, but rather what's the best thing for the company at that point. So sometimes you give up, you can't do everything all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could say, well, so for Andy, for you in particular, it could be, your job is sales in Asia, and you could think of what's good for sales in Asia, but now you have the burden and maybe even the pleasure to think about what's good for all of the areas, right? It might be.
You do need freeze music.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. You know, this is also a decision that
Yeah, I don't know freezing either.
Well, this is a decision.
Am I back?
Yep. We're going to make it as a group, Bob, and we're going to get with IT, and we're going to get you a direct connection so that we can plug your internet in. That's what we just decided.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
And usually that, but you were saying you were dropping it.
What he's talking about is I can finish sentences here. Is
Yes.
at the shed back in the building where Bob works, the internet was absolutely horrible today. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's San Diego sometimes.
San Diego, that area.
Bummer.
Well, why Bob? If Bob is on, if he can hear me, just I want to echo Jay sentiments. Thank you for trusting us employees as owners to really be, just to take on and continue your legacy, you and Kurt and Andy's legacy that you guys have, put so much of your heart and sweat and blood, sweat and tears into this company, and to trust us. It's yeah, I'm still speechless about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
tell
pretty
you,
awesome.
actually a relief and a pleasure for me, because I don't have to worry anymore about what's going to happen.
There you go. Well, now that we got that on the table and we're owners, and the three of us can make a decision that we're going to get Bob a direct connection of internet at his fan cave, we're going to do that, and we're going to order that up on tomorrow immediately.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We're going to get to what we came here to do, and that is talk a little bit about robots and do a little rapid fire Q&A. So to start this, I want to practice real quick, Bob. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, because here's how this is going to go. Rapid fire is often when we do rapid fire with you and Andy, you're pretty punctual. You answer the questions pretty fast. And Andy does not, but it's okay. That's what we like here. That's why we enjoy having him on the show. So I'm going to ask you a couple of easy questions, and then we're going to get to the big one, right? The big one at the end. But the first question is, when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I like to build furniture. I like to.
He froze. But
I
there's
like
still
to
with
go. Am I back?
Yep, you're
You're
back.
back.
Hey, you guys,
Back.
I'm about ready to switch to my iPhone.
Maybe you could
You're
try.
try that. Yeah.
Try it.
The 5G might do better.
You want to switch to your iPhone and come hang back
Yeah.
with us? All right, Andy's going to play some music. You switch to your iPhone. We'll go from there.
I'm gonna play the rapid fire song because this is a rapid fire show, right?
Yeah,
That's
you do
right.
that.
That's
Why-
right.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire, man machine technology, cars that drive around hands free in a robot world. Will we lose our jobs? Here's your chance to ask Bob on rapid fire. Robot rapid fire. Robot rapid fire. Do I need more verses or is he connected? No.
Well, he's kind of connected.
He's
5G. He's going to do this. Watch this. The king of technology right there. You want to see what happens when you give Bob a task? He builds something. And he makes it cool.
I gotta go do some settings here.
Okay.
Okay, I'll answer a question while I'm doing this. Multitask, okay?
All right, ready, Bob? I got another question for you.
Yeah, fire away.
What are you currently reading? What are you reading currently? Besides the settings.
as soon as you ask him a question, he freezes.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Last week, it's San Diego, the internet here. We should call.
I got an extra Cat 6 cable I can send you guys. I can probably FedEx it so he can hook it up in this room.
This is bad.
Mom, you thought the internet was bad at your house? Nope.
Okay, turn me off for a minute. What I'm reading, I'll leave the.
We're live, baby.
We're live.
Yeah.
This is so. It's interesting. It's the numbers up too. Like people are like, this is chaos.
Yeah.
People like to watch train wrecks.
People do like to watch train wrecks. So good. Hey, look, Aaron said this is the best one. Bob, I volunteered to drive to SD and fix your Wi-Fi internet issues.
That's so funny.
Oh, come on, Aaron, hurry up.
Yeah.
Raven, this is better than the Jetsons.
What are you reading, Jay?
What am I reading?
Yeah, what are you reading, Jay? All the questions we wanted to ask Bob.
I'm reading in a sports almanac right now. I've been watching a lot of Back to the Future, so I think it's funny to read the sports almanacs. What happens in certain years? You guys need another $5 to the budget, Hunter says.
Yes. Yes.
That's so great.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He always freezes while smiling. That's true.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He's almost back. I see him. Are you there?
There he is.
Yeah.
Here.
All right.
Okay, do you have me?
Yep.
Yeah.
5G. Yes.
I'm on my iPhone.
Awesome.
Did
Maybe
did I switch successfully to my iPhone?
You did. Your
connect-
AirPods are not on.
Great. Says my mic is working.
Oops.
Hang on a second. Hang on just a second.
This is so good. I love this so much. This is the best show yet. Mom, this is the best show yet. I hope you're watching.
What do you think now? Do you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's keep it as low key as possible, and then
Yes.
we'll figure out the internet. Whoa.
Whoop.
Oh.
Woo.
Here, check this out. We can just get rid of him for a minute and keep going. What are you reading, Lindsay?
I just read through Creative Ink again. I think I was telling you and Colin, a guy who works on our marketing team, about that. So it's from the CEO. I think he's the CEO, Ed. I'm forgetting his last name now, but of Pixar Studios, and so it's a really good book.
Andy, what are you reading?
I'm reading about flooring, Jay.
You're doing the floors?
I have some work that I want to do in my new place. I'm trying to build a music room, and I'd like to put in a hardwood, like an oak floor or something like that. But the room is somewhat below grade, so I don't know. That's not usually recommended. Usually they recommend, like, this is really interesting for our Guitar Nerd Talk show, talking about engineered hardwood flooring and luxurious vinyl planking is what they call it. So I'm trying to figure out
I think I'm
the
here.
best thing to do for that.
You're
Am I
back.
here?
There he is.
You are.
We
I
did
did
it.
it.
You want to know a really good trick, Andy, to floating hardwood floors?
What's that?
If you buy thousands of tennis balls and cut them in half, and then build the floor on top of a subfloor on top of the half tennis balls.
Really?
It's a nice way to float the floor. So in your studio.
Do you think that Bob could design a CNC machine to cut tennis balls in half for me?
Oh,
In
absolutely.
his free time?
They do that.
Hey, you guys, can you hear me?
We can hear
We
you.
can.
I'm here.
All right.
The
That's
internet.
good too.
Yeah. 5G.
Somebody said at least he doesn't have a cat filter.
Do you know what? I travel around the world, and the only thing I take is an iPhone. I never take a laptop. I never take anything else. I only take an iPhone because it's the only thing that works.
That's true. In Cameroon, your iPhone works.
I'm totally, well, it's the thing that connects. I hate laptops. They always fail me.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, get me a wire and maybe that'll work. But my iPhone and my 5G does the trick, I think. Okay, where are we? What question do you want to ask me? I'm going to answer them at really fast speed to catch
All right,
up.
so check this out. So ladies and gentlemen, you already heard the rapid fire. I'm going to kick these rapid fire questions off. Then we're going to get more questions from the feed. All right. The next, Bob, what are you currently reading?
Okay, brace yourselves. I'm reading a book called Rise and Kill First, and it's the story of it's the story of Israel fighting their way into having themselves a country, starting in like 1941 all the way up till now. And it's the kind of the story of Mossad, story of all the people that they had to assassinate that were trying to kill them. It's kind of interesting. And, you know, it's a part of the world I don't know much about. Someone recommended it to me and I'm like, okay. And I started reading it. It's like a 500-page Wikipedia page, you know, and it's interesting. That's what I'm reading.
Love it. What's the first concert you attended?
Jackson Browne, the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt at Balboa Stadium when Balboa Stadium was here. And we had just started Taylor Guitars. I think it was 1975 or something. And I asked Kurt and our then partner Steve if I could have Saturday off to go do it. And they had to actually, you know, weigh in on it. One thing that's interesting is that here, Andy, this might be part of your question about how do you act as owners, right? When we started this company and there were three of us, we made time cards and we all signed in, even though we were the owners. Every day we signed in, we signed out for lunch, we signed in, and we kept time cards.
I love that. I love that story.
Yeah.
What's your favorite word?
12th.
Good. What was your
I
first
answered
job?
that so fast that you know it must be. I mean,
What was your, what was
just say that word. Think of the letters and say it. 12.
12.
ELFTH. Really? I mean, how could it's got one vowel in it. How could that not be your favorite word? 12.
well, I really like the word pants too. It's I don't know what about it. What was your first job?
Well, actually, bamboozle is right up there too.
That's a good.
We
Absolutely.
need to bring bamboozle back.
Absolutely. What was your first job?
I cleaned out dryers at a laundromat and collected the money and washed the washing machines. It was 1 week long. I rode my bicycle down to Pacific Beach and did that while the owners were on vacation. I don't even know how I got recommended for that job, but that was my first one. And then my second one was in the gas station in the neighborhood where in Lindsay's hood in Kearney Mesa. And I worked on my guitars there. She knows exactly where the place was. We were talking about it before the show.
And last but not least, robots. Why do we use robots in automation, Bob? Automation.
Because they do stuff that people can't do, like really hard work that ruins your bones and your back. They do repetitive things really well, and they do delicate things like the most. And when people say robots, sometimes they include things like CNC mills. I don't call that a robot, but whatever, we've been building robots. We recently just built a robot that puts glue. We glue a piece of steel, 2 pieces of steel in every neck beside the truss rod. And Lindsay knows where that thing is. And we use a robot to apply the glue in there because we have to mix epoxy and put exactly the right amount in. We spent a lot of money building it from the ground up to put glue in that slot because a person can't do it. A person sucks at doing it. We wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do it if a person had to do it. We just wouldn't even do it. We use robots to make our ES2 pickups. Chewith On can do it. She's like awesome. She has hand skills and can see sharp and does it really well. But if you want to take that drudgery out of something, make a little robotic machine. If you watch that, you guys have seen where we make the pickups. It's kind of awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why robots. Takes a lot of repetition away. We use a robot to polish guitars, buff guitars. It helps us get work done.
And imagine we've spoken about this before, but imagine if one human had to buff guitars for an entire day's shift. Was it about consistency? Was it about fatigue? Are there things or decision making we're talking about now as owners learning how to make decisions like you and Kurt? When was the first? Let's go past robots and let's talk about CNC, computer numeric control, correct? And when was the first CNC machine introduced to Taylor guitars, and why was that decision made?
1989. Maybe a lot of our listeners know of Tom Anderson Guitars, wonderful electric guitars, small shop up in Newbury Park, north of LA. And Tom and I were friends back then, guitar making buddies. My company was growing a little bit bigger than his. He came down for a tour one day. He's like, hey, can I come down and see how you guys do stuff? And I was showing him all around. And we got to one machine and I said, well, how do you do this? This is dedicated. Actually, it was a saw that we call a gang saw because it has a gang of blades on it. So it cut fret slots. And it came from the K Guitar Factory. It was an antique that I got from someone who had gotten it out of the K Guitar Factory. And I rebuilt the whole thing to cut fret slots, one pass on all of our fingerboards. And I was really proud of it. And he thought it was pretty cool. And I go, well, how do you do it? And he said, well, I have this CNC, machine that cut some. And I said, tour's over, we're going to your place. Well, and I was just so interested. And that's where I got, Tom introduced me to the Fidal brand of CNC machines. They were made in Los Angeles. And man, it changed our life.
So 1989, you introduced it into the factory. The factory guaranteed looked a lot different in 1989 than it does now. Now we have a plethora of CNC machines and different tooling. What were some of the first things that you used the CNC for?
The very first thing I used it for was to lay a neck blank sideways on a clamping fixture, and it would cut the fingerboard surface and the peg head angle, because that was accurate. And we were doing it all kinds of ways that was inaccurate. And then we cut a truss rod slot, which has a taper in it. There's some contours in it, and that's really hard to do. We used to do it on a table saw, for crying out loud, you know, and so we did that. And then I learned how to make bridges on it, because bridges were kind of hard to make. Drilling holes, just using it to drill holes was a miracle. And the thing is that machine replaced that gang saw that I was proud of, our drill presses, our drill jigs, our shaper jigs. So it was one machine. You know, people go, oh, you replaced people with it. No, I replaced a bunch of stupid machines that were boat anchors the day after I got my Fidal, because they were also dedicated to one thing. They weren't flexible. So that machine was able to do work that that other machines did a real clunky job of doing. It made guitar parts better.
Right. That's interesting. The other one that I have questions about, and if anybody has taken the tour, you've seen these tools. And often when we gave tours, you know, pre-COVID, and hopefully someday we'll be able to do that again when the world opens up just a little bit more, is the lasers. So we use lasers for big parts and small parts. And when was that decision made, and how did that enter the build process?
When I designed the baby Taylor a long time ago, 20 some years ago, it was because Stan Werbin at Elderly Instruments told me that the ukulele market was really coming on, that people were going to buy more and more ukuleles. I should make one. So I went home and started designing the process to make a ukulele. And then I thought to myself, how many ukuleles am I going to make? What if instead of drawing a ukulele, I draw a little guitar? I'll sell a lot more of those, and they'll be worth more money. And so everything I make becomes a guitar, right? And so I started doing that, and I wanted some processes to make the top really fast. And that guitar was at a lower price point than anything we'd ever made. And I had heard about lasers that you could buy. They were pretty lightweight at that time. They weren't very powerful. And I thought, hey, I could laser etch a rosette and cut this top and back to shape. And so it was an expensive little machine. And I thought, you know, if I can buy that, and all it ever does for me, ever, and it never did anything else, is cut a baby Taylor top and back to shape and to burn a rosette pattern in it, then it's good. But if it turns out that it's really good, it's a way for me to buy it safely and see if there's other things it can do. And it's allowed us to change the design of our guitars to be better, because it can make things that we can't make. Humans can't make some of the things. And so when you have a machine like that, you go, oh, you realize that you can only design a guitar that you know you can make. So if you have this bright idea about maybe a small brace or something that goes in a guitar, a detail inside, and then you go, oh, I can't make that anyway, forget it. And then you start doing something else. But as we have more ways to make really intricate things, right, then your mind explodes, because you can design new stuff that you couldn't make before. Everything that's ever been made on planet Earth since the day we started making stuff has been, it's only been made to the limitations of your ability to make it. So if all you have is a hatchet, you're going to make a guitar with it, it's going to be hard to do. There's going to be parts of that guitar that you design differently because the only thing you have is a hatchet.
A hatchet guitar. Do you think you could make a guitar with a hatchet, Bob?
No, no. I can't make a guitar with a hatchet.
All right.
I could will it into existence easier, and I don't think I could do that either.
I think it's great. Thank you for the insight on robots. That's all we're spending. That's all the time we're spending on robots and automation, unless you guys have more questions like my dogs do. So, Gabriel, if you want to start firing questions to Bob, we'll let him take over. How's that? Go for it when you're ready. What is the biggest mistake Bob and Kurt made in the early days of the company? What a great question.
Ooh. I could tell you some funny ones. We were down to our last $200, literally, and we needed some ebony. This one actually is kind of cool in the end. You have to fast forward 40 years, but we didn't have any ebony to make guitars with, no fingerboards. And I went up to a lumber company in Los Angeles, and they had these ebony logs that were black. And I bought this round log, so it was maybe 10 inches in diameter and 6 feet long. And I counted, how many fingerboards I could probably get out of it. And I wrote them a check for $175. That took us down to $25 in our account. I drove home with this thing, and then I cut into it, and it had been painted black on the outside, and it was all colored inside, just like the ebony that we sell on purpose now and have popularized. But in those days, you couldn't use it. And I had spent the last money we had on absolute worthless wood. We didn't make, I don't think we made 2 fingerboards out of that. And there was no, that was a bad day. That was a big mistake.
Wow.
And then all these years later, I mean, we're using colored ebony on our guitars and people enjoy it. I didn't have the wherewithal to force people into it or to suggest it kindly back then. No,
Yeah.
literally in those days, nobody cared if we disappeared or not. We could have just like disappeared off the planet. And then like 2 years later, someone would have said, so what happened to that Taylor guitar company? Oh, whatever. And they would have come back to work.
That's great.
Hey, I think I'm going to give a shout out to my iPhone. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it works.
Great image. You're
Looks
coming
better,
through
too.
clear. Yeah, all the above.
The internet, you don't have to worry about that. It's just got this thing on it called 5G. Anyway, Chuck has a question for you here. Ask Bob, what part of the guitar was the toughest for you to perfect when you started building?
The neck joint. The first time I was tasked with making a dovetail joint, I'm like, forget that. I'm not doing that. Who said you should put it on like that? I'm not doing that. And so I came up with another way and another way and another way. And I started bolting on necks, and people just gave me crap. Oh my gosh, I got a lot of crap for that. And I just kept trying to make it better. And as a matter of fact, we talk about Fidels, robots, that kind of stuff. The neck joint that we use now is so sophisticated, and you cannot make it by hand. And it's such a good neck joint. But the neck joint was the hardest thing to do. And that was just straight up hard. Then there was skill I had to develop along the way to make things clean. I made 2 guitars, I made 3 guitars in high school. Didn't know anything about guitars. And I saw Martin guitars for the first time when I graduated. I made 3 guitars, and I sold a motorcycle I had. I went down to a music store and I bought a D18 with the money, and then I just brought it home, and all I did was look inside of it at how clean it was. I was so inspired with the woodworking on that guitar. And I thought one day, I wasn't never really enthralled with my tone versus their tone. You know, I eventually found my way into the tone that Taylor guitars are known for. And Andy's continued that and improved it. But when I said to myself, I want to make a guitar like this one day, what I actually meant was something that was well made like that. And it was hard to gain the chops to do a good job.
We've never done this before, but I have a hug your haters reminder. This was our hug your haters from last week. No bolt-on necks for acoustics. End of story.
Yep. It's a better neck joint, and if the dovetail was put on a guitar only because Mr. Martin came from the Violin Makers Guild, and that's the way you put a neck on a violin. It makes all kinds of sense. But we didn't invent guitars here. The Spaniards invented them, and they don't use a dovetail at all, and they don't use a bolt-on. They have a totally, completely different way of putting a neck on. But Mr. Martin made his guitars like a violin. Spanish guitars were already being made in a totally different style. I don't think anyone gave him crap for it, so don't hate me. His dovetail was like my bolt-on.
There you go. Gabriel, got another question. What solution did you design? What solution did you design you're most proud of? I think
I just answered that. The neck, being able to put a neck on and take it off and not have a hump at the 14th fret. Look, dealers used to come. I used to give the tour when we would do these, Taylor University things. 45 dealers would come at a crack, and we'd eat tacos and talk about guitars for 3 days. And I'd give the tour, and I'd get people together. I mean, this is just truth. I'd get them together and I go, hey, I ask you guys a question. Raise your hand if you think Taylor makes the best sounding guitars in the world. And people are like, oh, boy, that's kind of, I go, yeah, you guys are scared to do that too, because I know maybe like 50% of you guys will raise your hand, and the other 50% of you might think of another guitar that you like better. And fact is, if I make my guitar sound so that you'll put your hand up, I have to do everything with head gestures right now because I'm using both of my hands to hold my iPhone. Anyway, this is why I'm doing this kind of stuff now. I would be doing like this, right? You see how it works? But now I'm like this. So
technology woes.
Yeah.
This is what you call a handmade broadcast.
We need to send him a cable and an iPhone holder, Jay. Can you make a note of that, please?
I normally would have an iPhone,
Okay.
but Jade loves these laptops. He just thinks laptops are it. Every time I turn around, he's got me on a laptop, and then
Oh man.
So anyway,
I'll take the heat all day long. It's fine. You can bring it.
So anyways, they go, wow, we're amazed that you would even know that. And I go, but if I ask you to raise your hand if you think Taylor makes the best playing guitars in the world, boy, the hands, look at that. I'm doing it with one hand now. They'd raise their hands, all of them, 100%, or the most consistent that come in your store, all the hands would go up. So I spent a lot of my time, I spent my career trying to make a dependable guitar that our sound was our sound. It was our sound, right? And it was a good sound. Half the people in the world that buy guitars in the United States, judging by how many guitars we sell, think it's the sound, And then Andy's been improving it, so he's better at designing sound than I am. But those things that I concentrated on, which I thought were objective, they were objective things. Raise your hand if you think they play well. Oh yeah, there wasn't a lot of opinion about that. It's kind of just a fact. So that's what I tried to spend my time doing, something I felt I could win. I never thought I could win the sound contest.
Apparently, none of us can win the internet contest or the Wi-Fi contest. Bob's winning right now, though. Gabe, you got another question? When Andy P comes up with something new, do you ever say, you want to do what?
Andy's pretty thoughtful in what he comes up with, and I don't. But there's a time or two. Less now. He's been with us for 10 years, right? So he's on his own. He doesn't need me. But there's a few things that I do along the way that he's gaining great experience and wisdom in. You got to realize Andy made guitars in a half of a 2-car garage with the sharpest chisels you've ever seen in your life. He could do amazing things. And so he would make something, a new idea, and I'm the one that's like, how are you going to make that? I mean, that's really cool, but how are you going to make it? Well, all you need is a sharp chisel. He hasn't said that for a long time. I go, there are no sharp chisels in this factory, Andy. You just spent, 15 years of your life learning how to make that thing razor sharp. And we're not going to do that. We have to think of how are we going to make that part? So let me help you try and figure out how to make it. So I've been my utility with Andy isn't helping him design a good guitar. I have a lot more utility helping him figure out how to make it on a factory level. We make 800 guitars a day. We're a factory. We're proud to be a factory, right? And we have to literally industrialize every one of these pieces. And Andy's learned the beauty of that. I go, man, if we spend the time to take this little process and industrialize it, we can repeat that thing forever and ever and ever and do a really good job. But if this goes back to robots or something like that. Oh, now I'm getting low battery. I'm going to have to put this thing down and go plug in. Holy crap. Anyway.
Well,
I'm gonna point you guys to go do something to solve that in a second. But we're gonna be like, okay, here we go. All right, let's look at Bob's guitars. Okay. All right. Hey, the Taylor is coming out not backwards. How's that happening?
This is so good. I love it. Gabriel, you got another question?
I love this show. I'm going to go more artistic for the next one. I hope our audience can laugh because that's all you can do, right?
Oh, my mom says she's cracking up. She was texting me. She said, this is so great. And she needed to remind me that her internet's great.
Good. You did throw her under the bus.
I did throw her under the bus, but
Yeah.
hey, she's one of these days. I'm trying to get her to come to California and actually get on the show with us. That would be great.
Come on.
That would be awesome. Anyway, Bob, Evan Smith has a question.
Yeah.
The Grand Auditorium is a great shape that you invented. What was the inspiration behind it?
Kathy Mattea, who is a country artist and was pretty much had a lot of radio play back at that time. I knew her at the time. I still know her now, but we were doing work together, and she was really kind of encouraged me to make a guitar that had the width and the length of a dreadnought, but wasn't so square and bulky. And I'd been thinking about that for a long time, and I made my first one actually for her. I drew and drew and drew, and I think that was the first guitar. I know that was the first guitar where it was 20 years into my guitar making career when I really felt like Taylor curves, like the curves of our guitars, now has a style. And I went back and redid the Grand Concert and eventually the Dreadnought. And of course, that Dreadnought's been replaced by the Grand Pacific now. I redid the Jumbo, and I brought all of those sort of curves and shapes sort of into line. There's sort of a design aesthetic. If you look at all the Taylor body shapes, there's something very similar to all of them. They have family resemblance.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We need.
We released that first guitar as a 20th anniversary.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Man, we should have used that as a trivia question.
We
Well,
should have.
actually, that shape, Kathy's herself was a custom guitar. She named it Blackie because it was painted black.
That's great. All right,
So-
Gabriel, question. Ooh, Timothy. Timothy wins trivia a lot. Just saying. Good job,
yeah, he does.
Timothy. You've been on a roll. How has guitar aesthetic design changed over the years? What looked great 40 years ago, but might not look great now? That's a good question.
Bling,
Bling.
bling, abalone all over it, fancy
Pointy.
floral inlays,
Pointy
20th
electric.
century banjo type of patterns. You know, people aren't into that. Frankly, it hasn't been my favorite thing, so I welcome it. Darker guitars, darker tops. You know, used to be spruce, you know, and abalone. To make a guitar fancy, you've had to put abalone on it. People are, there's less and less people that like that now. More organic look, more woodsy, darker. That's the aesthetic, really. And then I think that maybe partially because of our designs, you see more and more guitars that have more of a fluid, rounded shape, not as square or pointy as they used to be. Okay, who's going to answer the next question while I run and get a cord?
Andy Lunt.
We got to straight up do this. Okay, now you can do like the Jeopardy song, like dun 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 dun, or something like that.
Yeah.
But where should I point this? Does anyone want to?
That's good.
That's
That's
good
good.
right there.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 1 second. I love this show.
What is that little amp back there? Is that
That's the little green thing.
is that
No,
the amplifier?
Oh, it's a Mesa. He's got.
It's an old boogie.
Yeah, it's an old Mesa acoustic with a cabinet underneath. It's pretty great. Every time I see it, I don't really often play out of acoustic amps, but that one looks pretty awesome. Like I should play it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We couldn't. We may or may not have been able to point the camera a different angle because he might have stuff in there that we're not allowed to show. That's just how it goes sometimes, Bob. You know how it is.
Do you think we should get him like a 10-foot Ethernet cable, or maybe like spend a little bit more and get a 20-foot cable for him? Or?
No, I think we need to just get him like we talked about it earlier today, and I said one of the things is maybe we need to hardwire.
Yeah,
they say I'm wired, but last week my issue was that somebody ran over the internet junction. There's by the fire station across the street. There's this junction, and someone decided that they wanted to take their truck and run it over.
Yeah.
But it was up pretty quickly. I mean, 5 minutes.
Well, there's the hater. There's the hater for the week. They obviously knew the show was on.
Yeah, they were mad.
They wanted to get rid of Jay's show.
Yep.
Yeah,
by running over the connection.
not my
Mhm.
show. I mean, it's like, did Bob have to run out to his car? Yep, most likely he ran to. I mean, where else would he go? He's got one in here somewhere. It's his man cave. We've all seen it.
What would make this whole thing perfect is if his phone just died right now. Oh, he's back. Like before he gets back, his phone just died.
Hey, all right.
Okay. Hey, I'm charging, man.
Right on.
There you go. Lindsay said, Bob, I don't know if you heard her, but what would make this whole thing better is if your phone just died.
It'd be awesome. No, actually, it wouldn't be awesome. It would suck. But it's not gonna suck.
Nope, you're good.
We're good. I'm gonna
Right.
while we're here, I'm gonna do some rigging. See if I can. Look at this. I'm gonna try and free up my hands.
Yes.
The other one was like, so I was like, kind kind of distressed about the problems that I just went totally manual. But now that I'm relaxed, I'm building some jigs and tools to do things like hold my phone. All right.
I want you guys to know there is a
Great.
point here. We often go a little bit longer when Bob is on the show. So we're gonna give you about another 10 minutes of questions, and then we'll wrap up the show. But this is the point of Taylor Primetime, opening up the curtain to show you that we are all just people. And we like to do what we like to do.
And you're a people, and you're a people, and you're a people, and you're a people.
We're all a people, and it's awesome. So I think what we should do is continue this Q&A.
Yeah.
Gabriel, do we have any more questions? Raven, why are strings at the head at an angle? Oh, electric
Why are
guitar
strings at
strings are straight off the nut. I think he's talking about why is there a break point on, like, I believe you've asked this question before, Raven, about maybe a 12 fret slotted headstock originally, but why is there a break point at the headstock or at the nut?
Well, you need to pull down on the nut so the string is seated firmly. It needs to like come over it and then go down. So it's pushing down on the nut. Same way that you push down on the string to fret it. You've got to push it down. And an electric guitar like a Fender is scooped out, and then they have these two little, clips that the string goes under to put that downward pressure on it. I think that's what they're, is it Raven is asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, string trees. That's exactly what string trees do on a Strat or on a Tele. They do put the down pressure on. They're not on every string. They're on the top 4, Lindsay. Is that right? They're the E and the B and the G, D and G, I think, right? Yeah.
Yep.
B and G.
Excellent. Next question. Craig, what was the inspiration for the T5 and T3 series, the thin line series?
We were trying to make a bass, like an electric, a plug-in, I'll say, acoustic bass, and we built this body that looked like a T5 body and put a top on it that looked like a T5 top, put a bass neck on it, and said, why don't we make that into a guitar, just like the ukulele story. And so that's what we did. That's literally what we did. And we had been working on making our own pickups by then, and there was some magnetic stuff on there, and next thing you know, we just got to playing, and we started blending those sounds.
And that's it.
It was just fooling around. We like building guitars. We get an idea and we go after it sometimes.
That's great. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool guitars. Apparently people like them.
Apparently so.
Apparently.
We've been making it a long time.
What about this bass thing, though? I can only count to 4, so I would love to see this.
If I work on it, it's going to turn into a guitar. That's why we have a GS Mini, because we already had a GS.
There you go.
I mean, the GS Mini bass is what I'm trying to say. Went from guitar to bass on that one. There was I couldn't hijack that from Andy and go, no, turn that into a guitar. It's like, it's already a guitar, Bob.
So you didn't say what? Anyway.
What?
And next question. Whoa. Have you thought about collecting historical significant Taylor guitars like the Prince guitars, early Taylor Swift guitars, V-Class prototypes, etc., to go with, of course, the palette guitar? Have you ever thought about doing this, Bob?
We have some guitars from our past. I've got a few American Dream guitars. I've got some of the very first guitars that I made. We have the original palette guitar. Do we have the first V-Class guitar? I don't know. It's all my fault. I mean, I blew up my first couple guitars because I didn't want anyone to see them, and I wish I had them now. But I do have one of the three I made in high school. I'm don't ever make me be your museum curator, because there'll be nothing in it by the time I'm done cleaning up every spring.
Spring cleaning. I think we might have
This
the
old flag that Betsy Ross made, it's getting ratted out. Maybe I shouldn't have thrown that away.
I think we may have the first B class guitar was an actual. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but I think it was like a it was a dreadnought. It was not a Grand Pacific dreadnought.
It's a 13 fret, wasn't it?
Maybe, and I think Keith had it for a while. Keith Brawley had it for a while. Huh. That's an interesting one. We also have the double neck guitar that you made for Richie Sambora.
Yeah, we made two of them because it was easy as making one, you know. And so do we have that guitar? Is it in that closet?
We do. And the road case weighs easily 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the heaviest road case I've ever tried.
There's no backpack straps on it, are there?
There's no backpack straps on that one. No, not at all. Anyway, and it's so big, it's hard to get out of the door. All right, next question.
Yep.
Charles, when is Bob's next book coming out? We're writing it right now.
Oh my gosh. I was going to do a book on how to do live streaming without glitches.
How to tell Jay no about laptops. Yeah.
I think when we get a real wire, Jay, it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Except for I'll have to make the wire myself. All right. Next question.
Oh, wait. Let's talk about that book for a second.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I might one of these days go back and kind of make a second edition of the one that I've already done. But I doubt it. So I wrote that book with my own hands. I actually did write that one. Someone didn't write it for me. I wrote it just to get off the hook, right? It's like, okay, I did that, and it was and I felt myself starting to forget those early days. And so I did it just as kind of a historical thing. I probably should add some to it, flesh it out a little bit more, but I'd rather not. I'd really rather not. That's a better answer than the first one.
It's a really good book, though. If you haven't read it, you should read it. I think I have one here. Guitar Lessons by Bob Taylor. You should read it. All right, Kevin, how often do you play guitar now, given all of your responsibilities?
It's not my responsibilities that keep me away from playing guitar. But true confessions, I was never good at playing guitar. I got into building a guitar because I was super enthused about it. And I wanted to play when I was young. I loved playing. But I would say that I didn't progress enough to keep myself like really interested. So I've just sort of faded out of playing guitar a lot. I still play guitar. So the answer is I play guitar occasionally, where I'm sitting here is a room that I've got my guitars in, and it's in a building out where Taylor Guitars is. And I sit in here and play the guitars. But when I quit playing guitar every single week at our church on the worship team, that was the demise of my guitar playing. I'm not a good guitar player like Andy or like Lindsay. I'm just not that good of a guitar player. Pretty good at making stuff, but I'm not a great musician.
I have footage of Bob playing guitar. I wish I had it loaded up. I would play it, but I do have footage, Bob. Good, from the GT launch.
If I practice, and I practice a lot, I can hold my own sometimes. I don't want to be in the spotlight, that's for sure.
Yeah. You have really good lighting right now, so we'll stay there. And don't move because I want the internet to continue to work. Do we have another question? Mark Davis, were you surprised by the massive demand generated by the pandemic? Oh, that's a great question.
That one overloaded my surprise button. Like my surprise button was like boing, oing, 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 and the spring came out, the button shot across the room. It was permanently broken. I don't think that I'll ever be that surprised about anything ever again. You guys know, it's unbelievable. Now, after you analyze it, you're like, well, of course, music is really important. And there are a lot of people that are different than me, which is I want to play guitar, I just don't have the time. And they did have the time. Or a lot of their other pastimes were just taken away, erased off the planet. And so I love the fact that that music rose to the top as one of the very most important things for people to do. But I've never even imagined that we would receive orders like we've received. It's kind of nuts, isn't it, Andy?
It's nuts. Well, you mentioned 800 guitars a day, that we've never done that before, and it's only because of what happened in the last 12 months, for all the various reasons that you mentioned as well. Just people have more time. People who would spend money on vacations were not going on vacations. Kids weren't going to summer camps. All that stuff sort of added up to the storm that we're seeing, and I think it's a good thing. I mean, we need more music in the world. We need more guitar players.
Yeah, more personal music. Music's so ubiquitous now. When I was 18 to 30 years old, and even before that, listening to music was a thing you did. You sit down in a chair, you put on a record, and you'd listen to it. It's like, I'm going to listen to music now.
Yeah.
You'd read the liner notes. But now music is everywhere. It's everywhere. No matter where you turn, it comes in all kinds of forms. And so it scratches that itch. And what do you do? I guess my version right now of watching music or listening to music that was similar to that experience back then, where I'll take time, is watching YouTube performances. I just think there's some unbelievable people playing and singing great music on YouTube, and I watch them. It holds my interest, and I'll take time to do that. And it's just so different. And so there's so much music around, and to get back to actually playing it and a listener hearing it, and then when that's over, it's over. I mean, think about it. Before recorded music, the only way you could hear music was if someone played it for you, or you played it for yourself. And when they were done playing, it was over. There was no to-go package. You couldn't take music to go.
I think it's really interesting. I come from the record label world, and I had a mentor in the label industry, and it was the year 2001 was when the first iPod came out. And Steve Jobs said, no one likes the record anymore. They want the single. And that made a lot of people frustrated, right? Because iTunes was there, but it's a blessing and a curse. The artists don't make what they used to make, right? If we sold 1 million singles of I Know What Love Is, if someone actually paid that, we would raise just an asinine amount of money for the cause that we're trying to raise money for. But now we don't. But the blessing is it's everywhere. It's everywhere. My wife takes my daughter to dance class on Saturday morning, and she makes a mix for the weekend and sends it to everybody in the family. And it's like, wow, it's at our fingertips. Yeah, I love it. I think we do need to make more music, and people are doing it. All the friends that I've had have called and said, hey, does Taylor make a small guitar for kids? Sorry, I don't know anything about guitars. So yeah, it's fun. Hey, Gabe, how about we do 2 more questions, and then we'll get into Lindsay's question in 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. How's that? 2 more questions. Maybe. David, you were close with Bill Collings.
hmm
Did you two ever consider building a guitar together? Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah. No, we never considered building a guitar together. Um, Bill was, him and I had a nice, we poked at each other. I mean, I always admitted to him, he in my life, as far as like really good guitar builders go, he was he was the king of the hill, and I made sure he knew it all the time, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed that. I'll tell you one funny story though. He was expanding, starting to expand, and we were at a Nashville show, and I'm like, Bill, looks like your guitars are slipping a little bit. Oh my gosh, that was the worst thing that ever happened to him in his life. And he's like, what? What do you think? What do you mean? And he would come by every single day. And I go, well, this, the things I'm used to seeing on them. And he goes, and I go, and what surprises you is that I would notice. You didn't think I was that sharp, did you? You know? And there were just things with geometry. And when I say slip, they weren't bad. He's still in my book, he's right there with Andy. You know, he's the grandfather of really, really nicely built guitars. But we were super good friends. We did things together. We went places together. We shared ideas together. We had a lot of fun. And yeah, it was sad. I talked to him a lot all the way up till his last days. And, you know, I miss him. I miss him a lot. What a good guitar builder.
Yeah, we're big fans of Collings. We're big fans of every manufacturer. I mean, a lot of them, right?
We are.
Of
Yeah.
course, there are some manufacturers who like to bootleg a little, but we are fans. We're friends, and you know, there's a lot of that hate that people think that there's, you know, this competition. Yeah, there's competition. There should be, like,
Well,
you know, but at the same time, it's Collings. Have you ever played a Collings? Wow.
yeah, I got one right here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, beautiful Collings. I sent him the wood. I had some nice wood. I sent it to him, and he made that guitar. And it's a beautiful guitar. And you know what? That guitar is, when I looked at it just the other day. I just picked it up and I looked at it. I looked down the neck. I looked at the top. I looked at everything. I strummed it, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of perfection. It really is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a good guitar, that's for sure. All right, Gabe, what do we got? Kevin F. What changes would you like to see in acoustic guitars in 5 or 10 years? That's also a great question.
My changes have that I would like to see, which I'm working on now, is this. We have an obsession with wood that I like to call unobtainium. You know, I would like to see guitars made out of more humble woods. It has an environmental aspect to it. I think that we can't just, we make guitars in increasing numbers, and we just really can't be robbing the bank account of the exotic woods out in the forest all the time, which is why we're doing more things like urban ash and eucalyptus on fingerboards to kind of ease the strain on ebony. We're going to see 4-piece tops on guitars. Maybe not before I die, but before Andy dies. Trees are getting smaller. So a little bit at a time, those changes, I think, would be that. This goes back to what I think is really great, that super fancy guitar isn't the most popular thing now. A lot of inlay work and that type of thing. I just would like to see guitars made with the tone in mind and the utility of it in mind. And it's a great palette for the most beautiful wood in the world, but there's not enough of the most beautiful wood in the world to go around. So we have to concentrate on sound and on playability and the real musical aspects of guitars. And it might sound like I'm talking about changes in guitar players, but that that goes along with changes in guitars. You've got to offer good guitars that people choose to buy. So that's what I'd like to see.
That's great. That's great. Here's a real quick question. Statement also. Wait, where'd it go? I got this, Gabe. Check this out. Urban Ash is absolutely amazing. Quickly became a fast favorite. Yeah. Is it available through a custom shop? Could you order a custom guitar?
Yes, I know the answer to that one. If Bob does not, we just built a few for our friends in Japan. Ordered, I believe, the first Urban Ash custom shop guitars.
How cool!
Yeah,
awesome.
I like that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up Q&A with Bob. As always, it's a blast having you on, Bob. But we have a relatively new segment. Maybe you've had a Lindsay's question. Lindsay's question is where she stumps the guest. Andy, do you have a song?
Hey, Bob. She stumps the guests half the time. As for the rest, they do just fine. Who could know what she might say? Her question of the day is to get to know you. Hey, Bob. To get to know you.
Boy, why do I feel like I should be smoking a cigarette when you sing that song? Man, I need like a little tumbler of Jack and a cigarette next time you come on.
You can have it, man. We'll send you the little tumbler and a mini bottle of Jack with your Cat 6 cable.
We should make a Cat 7 cable for Bob.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yes.
Okay. We got to build this with a robot. All right, Lindsay.
Yes. You know, Bob has a wealth of knowledge on a lot of things. So I think a fun question or interesting question for you, Bob, is what is the most ridiculous or random fact you have stored in that brain of yours?
Huh?
What's random fact?
Or ridiculous, just something that you're like, I have no use for this.
Yeah, the 12th is my favorite word.
12th.
Oh my gosh, you're stumping me, girl. I'm gonna get like halfway. Yeah, get the music going. Let me light up.
I think you did it.
I did it. I did. I don't even know if I'm trying.
What can I say to that? There's no such thing as multitasking. Okay, it's a scam. You can't multitask. There's a random fact.
That's a random fact.
Yeah, I can't think of anything good. I thought it was more entertaining when my internet went down.
All right. Well, Bob, the simple one. Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Definitely. It's not my go-to every time, but yeah, it belongs on a pizza. Okay. Barbecue chicken belongs on a pizza. Taco mix belongs on a pizza.
You're gonna start a fight in the chat. A fight and a war in the chat.
Yeah,
you're gonna have Plug Your Haters next week for sure.
We are. Yeah, a lot of no's right now.
But like a whole lot of no's. You know, in America, they'd be like, you know, pepperoni belongs on a pizza, but they don't have pepperoni in Italy. They don't even have it. And you know, there's a lot of stuff we have. You know, you go there and they're like straight up, who is it? This Alfredo? You know, I mean,
Gabriel. Hey, he's himself. That's good. Thanks, Gabriel. I would agree. I like pineapple on pizza. It's all good. I mean, I'm wearing a Chicago. Wait a second. It's that time.
Oh my gosh.
You know what time it is? Yeah, I know what time it is. Hey, Gabe, do we have a useless clip, Gabriel? Andy.
It's 2 minutes of sports, Jay's favorite time of the show. Imagine a game where the players weren't human. No one would retire, no one would be a has-been. Steel and rubber replace flesh and bone. Would you go to the game or watch from home? It sounds super crazy, but I mean it's not. Would you watch football if the players were bots? 2 minutes of sports.
Exactly.
A little tongue-tied in that one.
Find your hat offensive. Well, I'm wearing this hat for a reason. I'll tell you why I'm wearing this hat. Yes, baseball is back. Phil Jackson is Bob's cousin. He coached the Chicago Bulls. We like that. Jake Arrieta, longtime pitcher, of course, Cy Young winner, World Series champion, and Taylor player is back on the Cubs. That's exciting. But that's not why we're here. We're talking to Bob. So I have a question for you, Bob. 2 minutes of sports, your favorite segment of the show. If you could win an Olympic medal for any sport, real or fake, what would it be?
If I could do it,
Mhm.
whether I can or not,
Yeah, real or fake, whatever. What sport would it be?
running. I might have been able to run a race and win it.
So excited about it.
I think that'd be awesome.
Jogging or yog?
Almost everybody's hands, when you hold your arms down, are the same height off the floor.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact. Almost everybody.
Really?
Once you're an
what?
adult. Once you're an adult. So just start going around up to different people, different heights of you, and you just drop your hands down, and you'll be amazed how often your fingertips line up. I think maybe God did it so we could hold hands or something, but
You know what? You're welcome, everybody, because that is a fact that we're all going to go check now the rest of this
And
week.
you know
it's
what?
a fun one to check.
Even
Yeah.
if it's not real, Bob said it.
Yeah. So,
No, it's a fun one. It's one that you can remember and try every once in a while.
Everyone's going to believe it. That's good. All right.
If you got some guy 7 foot tall next to someone who's 4 foot, it's done. But in the normal 5 foot to 6 foot range, people's hands are the same distance off the floor.
You got Google happening right. Like Google's exploding
exactly.
right now. All right. We got a couple of
So good.
We got a couple of trivia questions for you. The prize this week is the same as last week. Nicholas Vinaglou wanted to give 2 1 hour private lessons. And that's fantastic. I love that prize. We also learned from some prizes that were supposed to be sent a few weeks back that one of the items I put in that prize pack for you was back ordered, and that in our system doesn't allow us to ship it. So we've separated the orders, and you should be getting your shipments. If you haven't received your prizes, you'll get those too. All right. So we got a couple. Yes, Lemon Grove is the answer. You guys are already, you got it. Gabriel, so you guys know the rules. The rules are Paul Tobias and Gabriel O'Brien cannot answer the questions. If you win, please send an email to primetime@taylorguitars.com and we will get you your prize. We do have a couple of questions. Gabriel, do you want to ping the first question? That would be fantastic. What year did Bob introduce the CNC into the factory? What year did Bob introduce the CNC into the factory? The iPhone? Bill, there you go. All right, Bill. Send us an email. We'll get you your prize. We'll get you connected with Nicholas. And the next question, trivia question is, what were the first two things Bob used the Fadal to make? First two things. Lemon Grove is not the answer. The internet is also not the answer. An iPhone holder. Not the answer. Bridges. Abu. Yes. Awesome. Send us an email at primetime@taylorguitars.com and we will get you connected. Primetime@taylorguitars.com. Bob. Oh, Bob. Thank you so much for making the show fun.
Yes.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be chaotic on Tuesday nights. And you know what? This just proves, man, don't take everything so seriously. We have a blast.
Like I say, Jay, if you need a little help, I can be as little as any.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next week we have a really great show. J-Hat. I don't even know what that means, Raven, but J-Hat. I'll take that. J-Hat. Oh, I get it. Maybe that's the first thing the Fadal used. I get it. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, Bob. It's always a pleasure having you on. By the way, Bob was on the first episode of Primetime. Now we're in the second season, episode 9, and we're still moving quickly. We got more to come. We got some great artists and some great folks from our factory coming on, so it's going to be really exciting. Thanks again, Bob.
It was my pleasure. It's always my pleasure.
Lindsay,
Jay.
we better leave this video meeting because I think we have another one in like 35 minutes.
5 minutes.
And Andy, it is always great to see you from the North Woods. You want to take it away?
Yep. What was it? What was it? It was prime time. It was prime time. What the heck was it? I don't know, man. They call it prime time. Thanks to Mr. Bob Taylor for another rapid fire. Bob says to bring bamboozle back, and robots can save your bones. Tom Anderson had a CNC machine back in 1989. One day he showed it to Bob, and it really changed all our lives. The little baby Taylor was the first for the laser machine. The neck is his favorite invention. Collings and Powers are the best he's seen. Things you learn on Prime Time. On Tuesday. Useless things on Prime Time. Good night, everybody. See you next week. Thank you, Bob.
Good night, Andy.